a world champion fighter, suddenly developed a hole in the palm of his hand for no reason at all. Not only did black blood pour out every midnight, even doctors could not determine the cause. It wasn't until a blind young shaman revealed the truth that he realized this was not an illness at all. It was the supreme miracle from Catholic legend known as the stigmata. As long as this hand touched an evil spirit, it could instantly unleash holy fire capable of purifying everything. But ironically, this man was the person who hated God most in the entire world. At the beginning of the story, a traffic cop was carrying out a routine DUI checkpoint on the streets as usual. On the silent road, a sports car slowly entered his line of sight. Inside the car sat a young man and woman. Their expressions carried an indescribable coldness. Out of duty, Kevin stepped forward and asked the male driver to take a breathalyzer test. However, at that very moment, a horrifying phenomenon occurred. The ring on the man's hand suddenly began glowing with a strange red light. Immediately afterward, his eyes instantly turned blood red. Before Kevin could even react, the man slammed the accelerator all the way down. Accompanied by the furious roar of the engine, Kevin could only cling desperately to the car window. He was then dragged hundreds of meters down the road. In the end, after exhausting the last bit of his strength, he was violently thrown onto the street, his fate unknown. After receiving the terrible news, Kevin's son Jack rushed to the hospital like a madman. Looking at his father lying in the hospital bed covered in tubes, the young boy felt fear and helplessness like never before. In overwhelming grief, Jack remembered his father's earnest teachings from the past. His father had once told him that as long as he prayed to God with sincere faith, the Lord would surely hear the voice of his believers and grant any wish they desired. So, Jack resolutely turned and ran toward the solemn church. Kneeling before the cross, he used all his strength to offer his most sincere prayer to God. He begged for a miracle from heaven and pleaded that his only remaining family member not be taken away from him. At that moment, a kind priest walked over to comfort him. As long as he prayed sincerely, the merciful God would surely lend a helping hand and allow his father to escape danger safely. However, the cruel reality mercilessly pierced the young boy's heart. That very night, the hospital delivered the cold news of death. Kevin's heartbeat stopped forever. At the funeral, Jack's world completely collapsed. When he saw the priest who had once made him that promise again, the grief buried deep within instantly transformed into rage. He grabbed the cross that was supposed to represent holiness and salvation and viciously smashed it into the priest's face. Hysterically, he cursed the man as a complete and utter liar. From that moment on, the beacon of faith was forever extinguished in Jack's heart. In his eyes, the so-called God was nothing more than a cruel lie. As time passed, the boy from back then had now grown into an undefeated MMA world champion, but the endless resentment toward God within his heart had never faded in the slightest with the passage of time. During a match overseas, the gears of fate began turning once again. Inside the ring, when Jack accidentally caught sight of the cross tattoo on his opponent's back, the pain buried deep within his memories instantly erupted. His mental state began to deteriorate. A whisper that seemed to come from the depths of hell continuously echoed and tore through his mind. Suddenly, his eyes glowed with a sinister red light. His entire body fell into a frenzied and irrational state. The moment the opening bell rang, he became like a completely uncontrollable beast. He launched a series of brutal, potentially fatal attacks against his opponent. If the referee had not intervened, he nearly would have beaten the man to death inside the octagon. Carrying this bloody victory with him, Jack boarded a flight back home. On the plane, he fell into an extremely realistic